I'm Frank, this is a BoomCo Crank Force review. This blaster by BoomCo is a clip-fed, crank-powered blaster. Pretty cool, let's get into the review. Who glues boxes shut? Freaking BoomCo. Use tape like everybody else, you jerks. Included is the blaster itself, the stock which comes detached, the clip, the crank, a few BoomCo darts, the instructions, as well as the BoomCo targets. So let's go over the externals and the function in a bit more detail, of course, starting up with the front. Nothing really worth mentioning. It does have a big gaping hole, but that's pretty common for the BoomCo blasters. Iron sight, or you could also use it for a sling mount if you'd like. Further back is the clip port. This is where you load in the BoomCo clip. Yes, this is a clip and not a magazine. There is a difference. Google that shit, bros. The included BoomCo clip holds 8 darts, but this is compatible with other BoomCo clips. And to load this, you slide it into slots like this, just like any other BoomCo clip system. On the top here is a BoomCo tack rail, so if you want to mount up a BoomCo shield or whatever, tons of space to do that. In the center of the blaster is where you install the crank. I put mine on the left. You can also put it over here. The crank is actually how you prime the blaster to fire instead of pulling back a slide or racking back a bolt or pumping or whatever. BoomCo thought it'd be a good idea to do this for whatever reason. You can hear it. It sounds like you're, pulling a crank, which makes sense. After you prime it once, this is just going to spin freely until you pull the trigger to release that tension and, you're firing. You can single shot by cranking and then pulling the trigger, then cranking and pulling the trigger, or you can hold down the trigger and just crank it out like this. That's equivalent to sort of slam fire, but it is nice that you can do either and you don't have to only slam fire. The grip is massive, nice fillets, pretty comfortable. I do like it. The trigger has no complaints, what you should expect. It is worth noting it doesn't have a trigger guard. Not many people care about that, but to me it feels a little goofy. But let's get real. You're cranking a blaster to fire it. BoomCo. I mean, that's goofy in itself. And moving back to the stock, it is a super short stock, sort of like the Retaliator. I can't imagine doing this to fire it, especially to do this while you're cranking it. You might end up punching yourself in the jaw. Friendly fire kills all day, every day. Mistakes were made. Oh, I can't even get close to that Halo announcer voice. This isn't a collapsible stock or anything, but it does have an ammo slot, so you can hold 4 BoomCo darts on each side of the stock. And those are the externals of the Crank Force. To fire, you load up the clip like I showed you. You put the clip in, and then you start, cranking. First, the slow style. Trigger down, let's crank. So firing the blaster is definitely unorthodox and goofy, but I could say that about pretty much every BoomCo blaster at this point, and they're all a little bit weirder than the last. That being said, the performance is similar to that of other BoomCo blasters. I think it's more challenging to use this effectively and to run it fast, like shooting at a moving target, because while you're cranking this, it's very difficult to keep the barrel maintained on a target or whatever. Practicality of the priming system is in question, but that can go for pretty much all of the primary worthy BoomCo blasters other than the Colossal Blitz, because it's battery powered and not human powered. So to my opinion on the Crank Force, overall, I don't really like this blaster. It's not really up my alley. That being said, I didn't have any mechanical malfunctions. It fired when it should, which is kind of surprising given the weird firing mech here. I was expecting that to jam up or whatever, but it didn't. The clips loaded smoothly. I didn't have any issues with that. The firing performance is similar to the other BoomCo blasters. I personally just can't see myself using a crank-powered blaster in a Nerf war. I'd rather have a top loader, and I don't even like the Retaliator. BoomCo, please just make a pump action, laterally fed, clip fed blaster, a traditional thing with a trigger without slam fire all the time, single fire mode active, and I'll buy one and I'll love it. I've often had that 40 round clip malfunction when it's gravity fed because it's too heavy and it slips down and I skip darts. So a laterally fed pump action blaster, please make one BoomCo. Just be traditional one time and then people can actually defeat other humans with a BoomCo blaster. This is just awkward and goofy and not practical for a Nerf game. But BoomCo is known for their quirky stuff. A man can dream. I want a war practical BoomCo blaster. They don't really have one yet. But overall, again, mechanically sound blaster, the Crank Force, just not up my alley. Hopefully my review has given you everything you need to know whether or not you want to order a Crank Force. If you do want to buy one, there's an Amazon buy link in the description box below. Otherwise, that's the review. I'm Frank. Thanks for watching, and remember, stay tactical.